In light of the rise of far-right extremist governments throughout the world, it can be disheartening to take the time to look back and see how much has changed in so little time. Yet I invite you to come back with me to a scene that took place a little over 10 years ago at the G20 summit in London in 2009. Barack Obama was attending the summit for the first time when he spotted Lula, the president of Brazil. "That's my man right there," said Obama, the most popular politician on earth, as he reached out to greet Lula, huge smiles on their faces. It's hard to overstate the historical importance of Lula's election in 2002. In a country with a long history of endemic corruption, systemic violence, and stark inequality, Lula was the first president ever to have come from extreme poverty, the first ever elected from a left-wing party. At the night of Lula's election, masses of people took to the streets all over the country. A major TV network, Rede Globo, showed images of a smiling Lula repeating the slogan he had used throughout the campaign: "A esperança venceu o medo." Hope had defeated fear. When he met Obama in 2009, Lula was in his second term, with approval ratings close to 80%. The Workers' Party had managed to increase minimum wage by 60% and to take 20 million people out of extreme poverty. At a time in which the whole world was suffering the consequences of the financial crisis, economists were predicting that Brazil was on track to become the world's 5th largest economy. In 2009, I was a new PhD student in the Department of Performance Studies at NYU. And although I hadn't originally intended to study Brazil when I first moved to the United States for grad school, I found myself compelled to become what in the US is called a Brazilianist, as all around me, people had only one question: what is happening in Brazil? Fast forward to 2019, 10 years after the joyful encounter between Lula and Obama. The new president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, was to open the General Assembly of the United Nations. In an evening that featured Turkey's Erdogan, Egypt's Sisi, and of course Donald Trump, Politico decided to post a picture of Bolsonaro in the cover of their story. It's Dictator Day at the UN. Politico's decision was justifiable. Bolsonaro's claim to fame had been his long history of racist and sexist rants and his praise of torturers and of the military dictatorship that plagued the country for over 20 years. There could not be a starker contrast than between the progressive optimism that Lula's election had represented and the destructive conservatism of Bolsonaro. And along with millions of other Brazilians, my heart sank as I tried to fully grasp the reasons behind this dramatic change. I was now a professor of performance studies at CU Boulder, and all around, people had only one question for me: what happened to Brazil? Along with my fellow Brazilianists, I've been struggling to find precise answers to these questions. Economists, political scientists, and journalists have all written about the economic crisis, but most importantly about the crisis of trust that have caused the rapid downfall of the Workers' Party and the extreme ascension of far-right extremism. My own current project addresses what performance studies has to add to this conversation. After all, it was certainly not with hard data and evidence that Bolsonaro was able to convince tens of millions of people that the Workers' Party had destroyed Brazil. And there are no numbers that can fully reveal the sheer sense of hope and optimism that washed over the country when Lula was first elected. More than these two characters themselves, however, it is crucial to examine what these contrasting performances of power reveal about the country in which the performances take place. A sense of hopelessness has dominated our conversations about politics, the environment, and progressive causes in general. I argue that mapping performances of power is crucial if we are to fully understand the turn towards far-right extremism, not only in Brazil, but across the world.